discuss about abruptio placenta. First of all, we should know why this topic is important. Abruptio placenta is a leading cause of maternal and fetal morbidity as well as mortality. So, it's important to understand the etiology, clinical features, diagnosis and management of the abruptio placenta. So first of all, what is antepartum hemorrhage? Antepartum hemorrhage is vaginal bleeding after 24 weeks to before delivery of the fetus. So it will include the late trimester bleeding as well as bleeding during the process of labor, which will include the first stage of labor as well as the second stage till the delivery of the fetus. So incidence, 2 to 4% of pregnant women may develop antepartum hemorrhage, and the causes of the antepartum hemorrhage include placenta previa, abruptio placenta, uterine rupture, vasa previa, some of the local causes which includes cervical polyp, shock, cervicitis and malignancy. Out of all these causes, the important causes which are commonly found causing the antepartum hemorrhage are placenta previa and abruptio placenta, in which the placenta previa means the placenta situated in the lower segment and near to internal os up to 2 cm. Now, what are the causes which patient prone for the abruptio placenta? We will discuss placental abruption. What is placental abruption? Third trimester bleeding due to premature separation of the normally sited placenta is called as abruptio placenta. Incidence is 0.5 to 2% of all the pregnancies. And what is the recurrence risk? If patient one time has abruption during the pregnancy, the repeat first pregnancy will have chance of 10% recurrence and 25% in the second pregnancy. Why it is important? Why abruptio placenta is an important cause of antepartum hemorrhage? Because abruptio placenta is more dangerous and it is a significant cause of perinatal mortality, which is up to 15 to 20%, and maternal mortality, which is 2 to 5%. Now we will study what are the risk factors which makes the patient prone for abruptio placenta. So increase in age. Age more than 30 makes the patient prone for abruption. Increase in parity. The parity of more than or equal to 3 makes the patient more prone for abruption. Preeclampsia, chronic hypertension or essential hypertension. Among all the risk factors, the risk factor which is most important and consistently seen with abruption is the hypertension. Preeclampsia, that is pregnancy-induced hypertension. When we see a clinical profile of the patient of abruptio placenta, it is important to note that patient is having hypertension or not. Preeclampsia and chronic hypertension have association up to 25 to 40% of the total cases. Premature rupture of membranes. If a patient in labor or before labor has rupture of membranes, because of sudden decompression, there are chances of abruption present. So, preterm rupture of membrane or premature rupture of membrane makes the patient prone for abruptio placenta. Multifetal gestation, that includes twins or triplets. What happens in these cases is sudden decompression. After the delivery of the first baby, the second baby has highest chance for abruption. Cigarette smoking, cocaine abuse, prior abruption are also some of the causes. Uterine leiomyoma. Uterine leiomyoma leads to increased surface area or poor placentation, which makes the patient prone for abruptio placenta. Hydramnios, that is polyhydramnios. In polyhydramnios, after sudden decompression, artificial rupture of membrane or sudden rupture, spontaneous rupture of membrane leads to escape of the Leica Remini, and which makes the uterine cavity comparatively smaller in a short period of time, which makes the patient prone for abruptio placenta. Short cord will lead to pulling of the cord during labor, and long cord, it is also a high risk factor because it leads to cord entanglement and chances of abruption are more. Other causes are supine hypotension syndrome, placental abnormality, that is circumvallate placenta, or sick placenta which has poor placentation, which are seen in cases of IUGR. They are prone for abruption. Nutritional deficiencies, which is folic acid deficiency, which also is one of the important causes of abruption. Thrombophilias, that includes the protein C and protein S deficiency, or change in incoagulation profile of the patient, which makes the patient more prone for thrombosis and abruption. So we have studied the causes of the abruptio placenta, in which one should remember preeclampsia, increase in age and parity, poor placentation as one of the important causes of the abruption. Now mechanism, how does it happen? Placental abruption is initiated by the hemorrhage in the decidua basalis. What is decidua basalis? It is the endometrium of the pregnancy, situated beneath the placental plate. So once there is hemorrhage in the decidua basalis, it will cause hematoma formation, and in concealed type, the blood will accumulate behind the placenta and will seep into the myometrium, and it will form the ovular uterus. So, if we see why abruption causes so much morbidity and mortality, then we should focus on the maternal and fetal circulation. So, if we understand the feto-maternal circulation, the blood to the chorionic plate or the chorionic villi will come from which place? It will come from the main supply of the uterus, that is the uterine artery. So from the anterior division of the internal iliac artery, uterine artery will originate. Uterine artery will give branches to ascending and descending branch. This ascending branch will further give branch to arcuate arteries, and the terminal will be the spiral arteries. So if there is anoxia or hypoxia in these spiral arteries, which have gone up to the penetration of the chorionic villi, this anoxia will lead to the endothelial damage. This endothelial damage will lead to bleeding, and this bleeding inside the chorionic plate will lead to hematoma or clot formation, which will lead to abruption. Now, in non-pregnant lady, the blood supply of the uterus is only 50 to 60 ml per minute. But in pregnant ladies at full term, the blood supply will increase up to 500 to 750 ml per minute. So once this blood supply is broken, so if we see in the diagram, the blood is coming from the uterine arteries into the placenta and will be drained by the uterine veins. But before draining, it will give the supply to the feto-maternal circulation unit, that is the chorionic villi and the placenta. In this chorionic villi, the network of the vessel, which is formed by the umbilical artery and the umbilical vein, will take back the blood which is there in the feto-maternal circulation. So oxygenated blood to the fetus will be provided by the umbilical vein. So if there is bleeding or abruption, this umbilical vein will not be able to carry the needed blood for the fetus. It will lead to fetal distress, or if the abruption is more severe, it can lead to fetal death too. So in abruptio placenta, there are two types, or rather we can say three types. That is, if the bleeding is present at the internal os, or it is a visible bleeding, that it will be called as a revealed abruptio placenta. But if the blood will remain behind the placenta only and from a retroplacental clot, then it will be called as concealed abruptio placenta. But another variety is mixed, in which the majority of the blood will be remain collected behind the placenta, but the blood may seep between the membranes and there may be present complaint of some bleeding pleural vaginum by the patient. So three types: revealed, in which the whole bleeding will come from the vagina and the bleeding will correspond to the patient's signs symptoms. Another is concealed, in which no bleeding complaint, the blood will be remain behind the placenta. And mixed, in which their blood is bleeding, complaint of bleeding is also present and retroplacental clot is also present. If we compare concealed and revealed abruptio placenta, in the concealed abruptio placenta, chances of complications and fetal death are more. So if we see this image, in the first image, we can see that the bleeding comes out from the cervix, external os to internal os, and the complaint of vaginal bleeding will be present. So it is a revealed variety. But if we see the another image, the blood clot or bleeding stays behind the placenta, behind the chorionic plate only. So it is a concealed variety of abruptio placenta. So in this image we are seeing the brownish black blood clot is present along the placental surface. This is the ultrasound picture of the same patient, which suggests the hyperechoic margin of the placenta and hypoechoic retroplacental hemorrhage. It may be isoechoic or hyperechoic also. This retroplacental hemorrhage on ultrasound can appear hyperechoic if the bleeding is fresh, but if the bleeding is old, clotted blood, then it will appear like in this image, which is hypoechoic to the consistency of the placenta. Now, how will we evaluate the patient? In clinical evaluation, we should see for first, how much is the bleeding, the severity, what is the nature and duration of bleeding, that means it is painful or painless, it is first episode or second episode or multiple episodes are present. Since when patient is bleeding, that is the duration of bleeding. What are the patient's vital signs? That will include temperature, pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate. We should also assess the fetal conditions, which includes the fetal heart rates. They are present or not. If present, is it reassuring fetal heart rate? If the fetal heart rate stays between 120 to 160 beat per minute, accelerations present, no decelerations. If it is reactive like that, or any signs of fetal distress. In observational findings, is the patient complaining of pain? In signs, are the uterine contraction present with tenderness? And further we have to see for if present the last cervical smear report or the location of the placenta by the ultrasound. The ultrasound is important for the confirmation of the diagnosis, but the negative ultrasound will not rule out abruptio placenta. Clinical features. The patient will present as painful late trimester bleeding with normal fundal or lateral implanted placenta. The placenta is normally situated, not in the lower uterine segment, and the complaint of painful vaginal bleeding is present in the late trimester is suggestive of abruptio placenta. In the signs, pallor will be present. When we compare the pallor of concealed type of abruptio with revealed type of abruptio placenta, in concealed type the pallor will be more severe than the bleeding, or pallor may be corresponding to the revealed type of abruptio placenta. That means the bleeding will correspond. The history given by the patient and the presence of bleeding will be proportionate to the pallor, which may be more than 110 to 120 beats per minute. hypotension may be present, or there may be presence of hypertension also, because the patient, if the mild variety of abruptio placenta is there and patient is a case of preeclampsia, then there may be presence of blood pressure of 140/90, 150/90 with tachycardia present. The patient may have decreased urine output, as the preeclampsia and abruptio both will impact the kidney functions and will cause the decrease in the urine output. In per abdomen findings, patient will have tenderness and may have tonically contracted uterus. So our finger indentation test may not be positive. We will not be able to indent finger into the uterine surface, which will be highly suggestive of tonically contracted uterus with tenderness, which suggests towards the abruptio placenta. There may be fetal distress may be present, or in concealed type there may be IUFD. So FHS may be absent. And in per speculum and per vaginal examination, there may be presence of bleeding or. So to conclude, the patient will present as a clinical profile. If we see a clinical profile, the patient will be a known case, maybe a known case of preeclampsia. Patient may give history of taking the antihypertensive medications previously. And if this is not the case, then we have to assess clinically that patient is suggestive of abruption by the ultrasound. Ultrasound will help to differentiate between placenta previa and abruptio placenta, and also will help to confirm the diagnosis of the concealed type of abruptio placenta. By demonstrating the retroplacental clot, it will exclude the placenta previa. Abruptio placenta usually is seen in the late trimester, that is the third trimester near term, and may be present during the labor. In clinical examination, we will record the temperature, pulse, blood pressure, per abdomen findings, the uterus is tender or not, fetal heart rate, CTG, per speculum examination, per vaginal examination. And in the investigations, we will go for the routine sampling. That we will go for the CBC, but some of the extra investigations are not required in case of suspected or known case of abruptio placenta. Which are the investigation? It includes the DIC workup. It will include the platelet count, fibrinogen, PT, APTT, INR, and if the bleeding is more, along with the serum fibrinogen and suspicion of DIC, may need the report of the fibrin degradation products, it is D-dimer. We should also go for the investigations such as liver function test and renal function test, because in a case of abruptio placenta which is also having preeclampsia, there may be damage to the liver which will be reflected by increased bilirubin or high LDH. It may also fit in the clinical profile of the HELLP syndrome. So, liver function tests are necessary. If the patient, renal function tests, why they are necessary? Because PIH and abruptio both are high risk for acute renal failure and may cause acute tubular necrosis. So, monitoring the renal function test is also essential. Blood grouping and cross matching. It is required because the patient may need for blood transfusion. Now, we can classify them into grade 0, 1 and 2. 0, the patient don't have any complaint, there are no signs, symptoms, it is just a finding after the delivery, the placenta had retroplacental clot. Mother is fine, baby is fine, only the retroplacental clot post-delivery is fine, it is grade 0. Grade 1, there may be complaint of mild bleeding, but the fraternal and maternal condition is stable. Grade 2, in which hypotension not be present but tachycardia will be present with uterine tenderness, fetal distress will be present, but the patient usually will have the fetal heart, not IUFD. In grade 3, there will be presence of hypotension, tachycardia, decreased urine output and fetal demise. So any of these signs or symptoms are if present, that is hypotension or shock, tachycardia with decreased urine output, and IUFD will make the abruptio severe abruptio placenta and falling into the grade 3 category. Management. The initial management will include the resuscitation of patient. So we will need the wide bore cannula, that is the green 16-18 number IV line, and we will replenish the blood loss by the IV fluids, that is crystalloids, that will include RL and NS, and because of severe pallor or anemia, blood loss, patient will require blood transfusion also. If maternal signs are unstable, we will give first isotonic fluid and send the blood sample for the cross matching, and as soon as the blood is ready, we will give the PCV transfusion. We will have to insert the urinary catheter to monitor urine output, and for fetal assessment, continuous CTG if fetal is alive. So management will depend on the severity of bleeding, gestational age at the presentation, and fetal and maternal condition. So routinely in our laboratory, what we do, if the patient comes with complaint of bleeding, first thing we have to do is to see the patient clinical profile. What do we mean by clinical profile? By clinical profile, I mean that the patient falls for the high risk for abruptio placenta or placenta previa. How we may know or differentiate these things? Because differentiation of these two or diagnosing the case of a particular is very important for further management. So we will ask the patient regarding history of preeclampsia, previous ultrasound reports, previous urine albumin reports. This is the importance of the history. A clinical profile of PIH with previous ultrasound report suggestive of normally situated placenta with complaint of visible bleeding is highly suggestive of abruptio. The second step is to assess the patient and assess the severity. For that, we will need the investigation reports by means of hemoglobin, platelet count, PT and INR. If the hemoglobin is less than 8 and PCV is less than 25, we will need the PCV transfusion. By the PT-INR report, if the INR is altered, we will require the fresh frozen plasma transfusion for the correction of the coagulation profile and to prevent or treat DIC, that is disseminated intravascular coagulation, which is a risk factor. After assessing all this or doing this all investigation, we will confirm by the ultrasound. Then comes what do we see in the ultrasound other than confirmation of diagnosis. If the fetal heart sound is present, we have to assess the gestational age also. So by assessing the gestational age, we will come towards the final conclusion of the management part. It is a preterm or full term. Is the baby survivable or not survivable? If the mother is hemodynamically stable or unstable. So in term gestation, hemodynamically stable mother confirmed the diagnosis of abruptio placenta, no fetal distress is present, we can allow the vaginal delivery. But if the bleeding is significant, patient though may be clinically stable and chances of fetal distress or unfavorable cervix, we should go for the caesarean section. Now second part, term gestational with hemodynamically unstable mother. So hemodynamically unstable mother will generally have fetal demise. So we have to assess the instability or the various parameters for correction. So if the hemoglobin is less than 8, we will transfuse the PCV. We will give the fresh frozen plasma and platelet as needed. We will maintain the fibrinogen level more than 150 milligram per deciliter. PCV will be more than 25% and platelet count more than 60,000. If the patient's Bishop score is not favorable, patient may require caesarean section. In preterm patient, suppose we find out that the patient is having maturity less than 36 weeks and patient fetus is having gestation age of less than 36 weeks with mother is hemodynamically stable, no active bleeding. In that case, we can wait for at least 24 hours and we should do betamazole coverage. And then we should manage accordingly after reassessing after 24 hours. If the patient is hemodynamically unstable, we should go for the delivery irrespective of the gestational age. So this is about the management. Management will thoroughly comprise of stabilizing the patient, giving fluids or blood transfusion, and if the maturity is achieved or bleeding is severe, terminate the pregnancy. If the maturity is not achieved, patient is stable, can wait for at least 24 hours for betamazole coverage. If the patient is not delivering within 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours and worsening, then we have to go for cesarean section. As we have said previously, abruptio placenta is a very high risk condition which can lead to maternal and fetal morbidity as well as mortality. So what are the maternal complications? Because of the blood loss, patient will go into hypovolemic or hemorrhagic shock. So that will be mild, moderate or severe. If the patient has blood loss of less than 15%, it is a mild variety. If 15 to 30%, it is a moderate variety, and more than 30%, it is a severe variety. In the severe shock, if there the multiple organ dysfunction syndrome is not yet present, then it will be reversible. So early correction is required, so the shock will be reversible. Because of the blood loss and severe vasospasm, there are chances of acute tubular necrosis which will lead to the renal failure, which will require hemodialysis for the treatment. In a concealed variety of abruptio placenta, thromboplastin release is more severe, which may lead to disseminated intravascular coagulation, which will reflect in altered coagulation profile. Because of the altered coagulation, again, after delivery, because coagulation factors are lacking, patient is high risk for postpartum hemorrhage. The management of the moderate to severe variety of abruptio placenta will need multiple PCV transfusion, multiple fresh frozen plasma, or may need platelet transfusion. So all these blood transfusion make the patient high risk for the blood transfusion reaction also. In the fetal complication, if we have to terminate the pregnancy premature, then there are risks of prematurity, RDS, NICU admission. If the placental separation is more than 50%, there are high chances of fetal demise, that is fetal death, perinatal fetal loss. Because of the lesser blood supply in the abruptio placenta and the fetus delivers alive, there are high risk chances for hypoxic brain injury, because the fetus may not have received the enough oxygen supply intrauterine after the incident of abruption. If a abruption happens near 24-26 weeks and was self-limiting and the pregnancy continues, then there are chances of intrauterine growth restriction. And because the blood loss is from the feto-maternal circulation, there are chances that fetus may have early neonatal anemia, which may need PCV transfusion. Thank you.